Welcome back to the Field of 68 Best Bets show presented by BetRivers. We are the three-man weave. We've been off for a few days. We're back. College basketball is back, kind of. There's a bunch of cancellations. That sucks, Jim. That sucks, Matt. 9 games, I believe, on the spread today that you can legally bet on. D1 versus D1. Jim, takeaways from the break. I don't know. What'd you do, man?
My takeaway is that Darius McGee rules, guys.
Yeah,
he had, I think it was 92 points. He set the scoring record for the Diamond Head Classic, put up nearly 103 games. Matt, it's the rare instance where a guy finishes on the 4th place team. His team goes 1-2, and he wins the most outstanding player. He is electric to watch. A little 5'9" jitterbug that has unlimited shooting range. Highly encourage anybody, if you didn't watch him in the Diamond Head, check out one of his games in the A-Sun this year. It'll be worth it. He's a complete fireball.
Yeah, just think of Virginia had him, right? Like we look at Liberty as like the mini Virginia, and Virginia is starving for a guy like McGee that can just make them, lift them out of the dregs of offense. Kai, I have no takeaways. Break was good. I may have to start lining some D2, D3 games. If we're going to lose all the D1 ones, we have to just get lower and lower and lower in the totem pole. Find some real value there in the NAIA markets, perhaps. That's my takeaway. That's my, I guess, agenda. It's more of an agenda.
I know. And hey, we could talk about COVID, our stance on the COVID cancellations all day long, but we're not going to do that. That's not what the show's for. We're going to talk about games today. We're going to talk about betting. We're also going to throw in a little futures discussion, guys, prior to the first chat mob round. Give you a couple national title odds, conference title odds. We're looking at, again, odds courtesy of BetRivers. Let's start off with the game, though. The headliner of today's slate.
Man, top of the marquee for this one. Tell you what.
ACC battle. Notre Dame at Pitt. Wow, what a game. Matthew, I think Pitt, and maybe this is a controversial take, is better than most people are acting.
I agree.
Okay, good. Yeah, they're a bad power team, but last 6 games, beat Jacksonville, beat Colgate. You won at St. John's, okay, without Champagny, still impressive. Lost to Monmouth, Virginia, and Minnesota by combined 6 points. That's not terrible, right?
Not terrible. Was hoping the spread would balloon to like 7. I was just hoping the odds makers would have this as like a touchdown. But they set it pretty low and was hoping to come in on Pitt here, but I can't do it. It's sitting at 4 across the board right now. Jim, we like the Irish trajectory. Trey Wirtz is healthy playing this game. Prentice Hubb has actually played well his last 2, who we thought had the yips forever. Obviously against watered down competition. So an asterisk applies to those performances. But that in itself, along with the short spread, is enough to keep me away from backing Pitt, and that's fine by me. That is fine by me.
There was another bookmaker that shall not be named that opened an early Pitt or Notre Dame -6, Matt, and that was intriguing to me. I was like, I could get down with the Panthers as a home dog at that price. We've already seen Notre Dame go on the road to a poor ACC team and get shellacked. They got murdered by Boston College. Yeah. So it doesn't really matter about the spot or anything. Kai, is this too far to call John Hughley Kofi Coburn light? Like
you can say that.
Mega watered down rummage sale version of Kofi Coburn.
If you're going to caveat him that far, it's fine.
Yeah, he's been dominant in the paint this year. He's huge. I think he has a big game here, the same way Kofi did against this Irish front line. Atkinson has not been the interior riddle solver that they were hoping for. And the shooting has been very, very dicey for Notre Dame. So I kind of lean towards Pitt in a mucky, ugly game here. But like Matt said, 4, it's just not enough. 5 is probably what I would need to step in on the dog.
Yeah, I love that 6 early line from a book that should not be named. 4 makes more sense. Notre Dame's no world beater, man. They only played 6 guys last game. Obviously, we talked about a little bit with Wirtz, the illness, injury, whatever it was. I think Pitt's kind of a live dog. They're 0-1. They're at home against a vulnerable team. That's the way I'm leaning in this game. Spread's too short to lay any money on it for me.
Kai, Tim Kafer in the chat mentioned the under. Do either of you guys have any takes on the total? Seems like it's going to be slow and gross, right?
I'd lean that way. Yeah, I can see like a 60-50 type of game.
Matt?
I guess I agree reluctantly. Okay. Something of note here too, like the pictures we've seen of the Oakland Zoo, as they call it there in Pitt. I mean, there's probably 100 people at these games. When notoriously one of the great home courts in college basketball, it's like, do they even deserve 2 points for home, 1 point for home?
No. Yeah. All right. Next game. You could argue this one's actually better and more fun to watch today. It's Fresno State at Boise State, a Mountain West clash. Spread is the same, except this time the home team is favored by 4 at BetRivers. Jim, Fresno has jumped 24 spots in KenPom after beating Weber State. Literally, they jumped 24 spots. That's a lot. They're now 63rd, 70 spots higher than the preseason. Do you like them against Boise State, a team that is historically quite good at home?
I'm having a hard time with Fresno because everybody has speed bagged Weber State, just absolutely made a joke of them. All the teams that are competent, BYU, Utah State, Washington State, just absolutely demolished them. And then Fresno lost to Utah without Carlson. That was kind of my eyebrow up. Like that was set up for you to get your big power conference road win, start making a case as a maybe sneaky at large kind of resume. And that one concerned me. It was still, Craig Smith is a mastermind and he mucked it up 55-50, disgusting game. That's probably what this is going to be. Boise State, they really need to get downhill, Matt. And I don't know if you can do that against Fresno's defense, like the penetration, the transition. That's going to be tough to do against Orlando Robinson and the boys. But man, this one's a hard stay away from me. I don't have the beat on Fresno State right now. I don't have them figured out.
Jim, this is a hard play for me. I like the Bronx, and this is my best bet. Obviously, with these games coming off of break, the COVID landmines are sure going to blow up in my face. But hey, the risk is also on the other side as well. I think Jarrell Baker means so much for this Fresno team. The times I've watched Fresno this season, I still don't trust their guards without Baker. Baker's like such a calming presence there in the backcourt. He can actually shoot, makes good decisions. You take that away, and it's a lot of reliance on sort of my turn, your turn, questionable shot making, of which Orlando Robinson covers all that up because he's so long, gets his paws on so many misses that he kind of bails out the erraticism of the guards, if you will. Against Boise's length, man, I think Robinson won't struggle. He'll still have his, but this is not going to be an easy matchup. Opening conference game, Boise at Taco Bell Arena. I like the Bronx at home. I don't like them. I don't like laying points with them just because I think they're a defensive-minded team now. It's going to be a low-scoring game. Like the total's hovering around 119.
It got bet up. I think weirdly
got bet up a little bit, which is odd, but not a lot. It's still sitting around like 120. Yeah. Like the Bronx, though, Kai. That's all I got.
Yeah, Broncos have been good, man, lately. After Detrive left, they've won 6 in a row. They've covered the last 4. I think the spread's right where it should be. Boise State clearly has the size to match up with Robinson. That's always been, it was supposed to be their advantage. Like Jim said, losing to Utah without Carlson when you have the best big man on the floor is concerning. But I guess I'll lean your way, Matt. I have nothing strong in this game. Good luck on your
Tyson Degenhart. Remember the name.
He's your
Write
man.
it down.
He's
dude. Been awesome.
Yeah. All right, let's talk next game.
Player.
He is a basketball player. Yale at St. Mary's. Big spread here. St. Mary's favored by 12.5. Matt, I kind of think of this as the same sort of song and dance that Missouri State played recently, where it's a weirdly timed travel situation. You have an East Coast team going west. Yale hasn't played in 2 weeks, and now they go back on Sunday to play their first Ivy game. It just seems very odd to me. But the spread's big. What do you think?
Yeah, I was lurking in these St. Mary's fan forums, and like everyone's like, "Why are we even playing this game?" Like all the cancellations, like Yale's going to fly out West Coast. Right, I'm sure it's going to be canceled in 2 hours, and this will all be a moot conversation. But as of now, it's on. And Jim, if it is going to be played, I worry for Yale's front line. I feel like we've been beating that drum all season. The guy I like is EJ Jarvis. I mentioned his name before. He hasn't played the last 2, and St. Mary's has a litany of bigs up front. My guy Matthias Tass went bananas last game against Gage Prim. We love the Gales. It's a big number, but one I think they can cover, and it's sort of a dead flat, why are we here spot against Yale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we saw Dartmouth go west and cover a bunch of games, but that's the key. They played a bunch. It was like, we're not just here for some one-off dumb game before we head right back for conference play. So I gave a lot to St. Mary's for home here. I still lean the Gales' way. Even if they don't come out like gangbusters, I think they wear down Yale in the second half, and you get the Bulldogs that are like, why are we here? Like, we're down 10 now with 12 minutes left. What's the point? And honestly, Yale hasn't been that good this year. When Azar Swain's not like out of his mind making shots, the offense really, really struggles. They don't have a true point guard. They don't have an interior scorer. It's a lot of jump shooting, and St. Mary's is going to make those shots tough late in the shot clock. So I lean towards the Gales despite the high number, Kai. Yeah,
it's ironic. Yale's maybe the only Ivy team that's kind of struggling relative to expectations. We thought most Ivy teams would this year coming off that COVID year. It's strange to see. And yeah, even at 12.5, even with probably a slower pace, I am leaning towards St. Mary's here. All right. Our next topic here, guys, before we hit Chat Mob and before we finish the rest of the games on our slate, we're going to quickly talk futures. And Jim and Matt, I'm going to ask you guys for one or two of your favorite bets. Then I'll give some of mine. Starting with Jim. What do you got for us? What are you looking at in the futures market? And again, these are BetRivers prices.
I'm going to start with a national title future, and it's not a team. So people are going to be like, wait, then what are we betting? BetRivers has conference to win the national title.
Yeah.
And the Big 12 is plus 500. It's the third ranked conference behind the Big 10 and the WCC. We know the WCC is basically Gonzaga or nothing. Like BYU without their big guys, they're not a true threat up there. Sorry to San Francisco and St. Mary's, not really either. Big 10, maybe that's Purdue and some of the other guys if you like the track that Illinois is on or Michigan could get to. But Big 12, I know that you have two of the top 5 to 6 teams in the entire country. You're getting Kansas and Baylor right there, and maybe something happens with Texas where they emerge. Iowa State's still undefeated. But it's really about Baylor and Kansas and getting two of the top 5 teams for plus 500. That one intrigues me. And then I'll give you one more conference one. That's in the A10, VCU plus 600. I waffled between VCU and Dayton plus 1,300 here. But really, Matt, it's about how St. Bonaventure's been not good and has had injury issues. They don't have an identity right now. Their bench is as bad or worse as it was last year. And VCU now with Baldwin in the lineup, the offense is perked up. They're two of their best, actually their two best offensive performances are since he returned, and the defense isn't going anywhere. So I think VCU could end up being the best team in that conference long-term, and you're getting decent odds at plus 600 for it.
Yeah, the A10 was interesting. I looked closely at that too, because I think we all agree that St. Bonnie is still overvalued. Plus 130, a pretty heavy favorite. I think, I don't want to say they're broken, Kai, but they're definitely vulnerable and by no means the surefire contender there. Davidson's played a little bit over their heads. They've been awesome, but I'm not ready to anoint them in that creme de la creme quite yet. So I looked at those rest, kind of the best of the rest there, and I couldn't make up my mind between VCU or SLU, who's at plus 1,000. Jim, I went to the Big Ten, and I'm looking at Purdue sitting at plus 175 at BetRivers. They are at that price because largely they've already lost the game. Got beat by Rutgers, which many people forget at the rack. It's been a house of horrors for a lot of teams this year. Looking at KenPom's strength of schedule in conference, they have the 8th hardest schedule within the Big Ten, which is just below average. I think that's a favorable setup for the team that we still believe is a cut above the rest of the crop. I like Illinois. I got to integrate Curbelo back in the mix. That may not go as seamlessly as people think. Michigan's got issues. I like Sparty. I just don't think they have the firepower, the horsepower to run with Purdue. The other team I was looking at was Indiana, my hometown Hoosiers. They're at plus 2,500. The second easiest schedule in the Big Ten here. So if you want to do like a little two for Big Ten dabble, maybe you're fading the team you hate with a little hedge of the team you love, depending on what side of the aisle you sit on there. Kind of like a little two for action there.
How did we get here where you and me were the high ones on Indiana preseason and Matt was trying to throw cold water, and suddenly Matt is like, I love this Indiana team.
I don't know. He's gone back to his roots somehow. I
have. I can't believe I love Indiana as much as I do, despite not really having a point guard I trust emphatically yet. So kind of a contradictory, hypocritical take there. Second one, Kai, for me is Boise. I'm just going to shower the Broncos with love. Plus 1,100 to win the Mountain West right now on BetRivers. That's the 5th best odds.
Yeah.
You just look at those teams from top to bottom. I still think Colorado State's good, but vulnerable. Nevada's fallen down the totem pole, and this Boise team's really emerged, man. They have something with this concoction. Leon Rice is raving about his team. He loves how his team's defending, and they have some offensive upside with the multiple weapons, shot makers they have there. San Diego State, the Aztecs have been vulnerable. I don't think they're the same team without Lamont Butler. And Fresno is a little bit overhyped. I mean, Wyoming's the only other team I'm worried about, but it's still Wyoming. I mean, like, are we sure the Pokes are going to outright win this league? I'm not buying that yet.
No, of course not. No,
yeah,
I'm surprised they have shorter odds than Boise.
I thought about a MWC dart throw with either Utah State or even Wyoming.
Or Utah State too.
Yeah, I just don't think Colorado State and San Diego State are emphatically like gonna win the league. So I think it's worth taking a shot there.
Great home court too. I think that matters.
I'll give you 2 nationals real quick, and I'll give you 2 conferences. Kansas is 12-1 to win the national title. That's the 6th shortest odds. For my money, they're a top 3 team. So I think there's value there. And Tennessee, for some reason, is still around 40-1 to win the national title, which is way down there. It's a top 10 team right now per KenPom. If you like value,
Agreed.
I think
Hard
Tennessee's
agree.
can play there. As far as conferences go, UNC plus 625 is not the craziest thing in the world for the ACC, especially those odds. Matt, your Duke boys, let's remind everyone, they haven't won the regular season in over 10 years.
Doesn't matter. Irrelevant.
I know it's yes, past results don't matter as much when we're talking about this stuff, but I think UNC is good value there. And then going back to the Big Ten real quick, Illinois plus 600, I think is a great bet. Already 2-0 in the league. Why not? They've looked awesome without Corbell in the lineup. But when he gets back in, I think he's going to know his role better playing with Coburn, right? A lot of those games were without Coburn. He felt like it was on his shoulders to do too much. I think he settles down when he comes back in.
On his shoulders. Yeah.
No responses, I guess, from you guys.
Bigger than our shoulders. That's why I want to respond.
I think Corbell
needs
to step in knowing his role, because that was part of what gave them issues early, was him farting the ball away and not valuing the ball. So let Kofi be the featured guy, run some pick and roll a little bit with shooters around you. You don't need to score on that team if you're Corbell. You just there's enough of it on that squad.
You have the best shooters in the country standing next to you. Like I don't think I've seen Grandison or Plummer miss in weeks.
It's a short slate. We're going to hit basically every game here. There's no chat mob questions yet. Nope. Send in the two you want if you want to talk the two games we're not covering here. But let's move on. No point in wasting time, folks. Northwestern State is going to Baylor in what is sure to be a blowout. But Matt, does Baylor care enough to win this game by 40? And I want to remind people of Northwestern State's margins real quick. SMU by 47, Louisiana Monroe by 30, Houston by 41, LSU by 40. They hung with Texas A&M and Oklahoma, but Baylor seems like a different animal, more in the plane of LSU Houston level.
Yeah, Baylor's beating Incarnate Word by 27, Nicholls State by 29, Central Arkansas by, I can't do math, 40 plus, 45, Pine Bluff by 45, and Alcorn, like a feisty swag team, you would agree, by 47. So
37.
I can't do math. Sorry, I'm looking at two things at once here. What I am looking at is more important, Jim. What's more important is the balance that Baylor has. They spread their minutes out across a pretty deep rotation that makes them such a good favorite, right? They're not relying on 6 guys to play 38 minutes. They're playing 10 dudes. They got the freshmen who are still trying to prove themselves. I mean, no one's, except for Akinjo, no one's played more than 70% of the total available minutes this season per KenPom. That is a recipe for an awesome favorite. They want to get up and down and run when they have the opportunity to, and they just defend like gangbusters. I mean, are they going to score more than 40 points tonight? I mean, I don't see how that happens.
I hope so, Matt, because the over is my best bet.
Yeah, I do too, but Baylor's going to score 120. So we're fine, Jim. We're fine.
Right. That's part of it. I think Baylor can name their number offensively. And because of that depth, Matt, they're not going to the backups are in, they're not going to score. Like these guys are playing for minutes. They're still going to be out there trying to earn some clock. And I do think it gets kind of sloppy in the second half, where up and down Northwestern State gets a little more easier buckets sometimes in transition. So yeah, over 143.5 is my best bet in this one. Guys, in general, with some of these big spreads, we've got 4 of them above 30 here on the outline. Do you want to look for first half for some of these bigger teams, or do you think the second half extension is more of the value and you want to bet full game? What do you think, Kai?
I'd probably lean towards first half, honestly. I think most of these teams, especially in this current environment, are more likely to put the cover squad in a little earlier.
I actually go full game. I don't know why. Well, I guess I'll try to explain myself. If Baylor gets up 30 first half, I don't think Northwestern State can make a run back at them, even though Baylor's up 30 and maybe a little bit lethargic. Even like a Baylor at third gear is still going to keep Northwestern State at arm's length if they build a big lead. So I think you want to have that second half if they come out slow off of the fat and happy eggnog, too much turkey and ham for Christmas break. You want that second half runway, I think. I would take full game.
All right. Next game. Thanks for the best bet, Jim. Appreciate it, man.
Go over.
Well, better win.
North Alabama at Gonzaga. Another big game. I mean, clearly,
what the hell travel?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Jim, I don't think Gonzaga is going to be stopped. Let's just put it that way. Maybe North Alabama can shoot some threes. I don't know. What do you think? Any lean at all on the side here?
I sort of lean towards Gonzaga just because of the travel and I just don't see why North Alabama cares at all in this game. It's like, okay, maybe because they're playing Gonzaga and that's big, but even carrying North Alabama is going to get demolished inside. I think Gonzaga can score 110 here. Man, this is such a mismatch in I gave like 7 for home in this, Kai, and I still wasn't quite on Gonzaga.
I know it's a big spread.
But some of these ones over like 35, it's tough to handicap because there's so much variance at the end of these games, and it's not going to be starters playing against each other. So it's tougher, but still lean towards Gonzaga.
Yeah, Jim, I think I spent too much time trying to figure out what the actual travel itinerary would be. So UNA is in Florence, Alabama. It's like northern Alabama. Like the closest major airport is Nashville or Memphis. There's no direct flights, I don't believe, from Huntsville to Spokane. Like, are they going to drive 2 hours, then fly to Seattle, and then drive another 4 hours?
Yes.
I mean, it's insane.
The answer is yes.
Bananas. Gonzaga by 50. It feels like such an obvious spinny take, but sometimes those are the correct takes.
My best bet, guys, for the show is over in this game. Over 143.5. The score is going to be 95-50. So there you go. That's your over. I compare this game a little bit to Gonzaga, Northern Arizona. Score was 95-49. And North Alabama is a much faster team, Northern Arizona. I think this game plays higher possessions. I think Gonzaga scores as easily against this team as it did against NAU. So I'm taking over 143.5 there. Same exact total, Jim, as Baylor Northwestern State.
Yeah. For the record, I was on the over in that Northern Arizona game, and it should have skyrocketed over. But NAU had 5 points in the final 12 minutes. 5.
Yeah.
And it didn't go over by like one basket. I think it was 1 point that it stayed under. So, Kai, as long as North Alabama garbage players can throw in a couple hoops for you, I think you're in good shape.
I think they will.
Yeah, they got some guys who can shoot it. Like, they're not completely inept. Peyton Youngblood can bomb it. My guy, CJ Brim, your boy.
Is Youngblood back, Matthew?
Youngblood is back, I believe, per my notes last night. Yeah, he did play last game.
All right, good. Yeah, that's great for the over. Having a shooter that's not a great
Fantastic.
Well, garbage time, 3 balls, baby. Yes, sir.
All right, next game. Alabama State at Texas Tech. Alabama State, Matt, got Young back last game. He came off the bench. They hung with Texas. They even were up 16-4, which was hilarious. I'm not sure Texas Tech cares about this game, but again, why would Alabama State? I don't know. What do you think?
In terms of, we don't like Texas's large favorite right now. I don't love Texas Tech a whole lot more, but I do like them more. Terrence Shannon is out today, and so is Malik Wilson.
Yeah,
does matter. Don't love having a shorthanded team as backing them as large favorites. However, Jim, you could spin to that into saying, well, now the guys who are coming off the bench, reserves, get more of a opportunity to prove themselves. They're probably going to play extra hard with the opportunity against a pretty watered down defense there. I lean Tech. Nothing strong though.
Yeah, no Shannon officially, no Malik Wilson officially for Texas Tech, but they're still pretty deep. They brought in a bunch of different transfers this offseason that are, again, going to be playing for minutes and trying to earn that. Some of these, maybe you try to live bet. And if it's close at some point, I think at some point Texas Tech will make a run. So if Alabama State hangs around and you see the live spread come down to like 17, then maybe that's where you look to step in.
Yep.
Because I think we talked about earlier, I didn't really give my take. I think the full game are better bets right now because of the second half quit factor for some of these teams that are like, you know what? They just put a 6-0 run on us. We're almost a conference play. Who cares? White flag.
We're done. Let's go.
So I think that's something to look out for. So nothing for me on the full game spread, but keep an eye on some of these, not just this one, if you want to live bet.
Yeah. Stylistically, I don't think Alabama State has a chance scoring. Like, they attack the rim. That's what they do. And Texas Tech is the anti-rim attack team. It's just going to be tough to score for them. They
try and run.
They put 31 points on Texas. I mean,
yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Speaking of Texas, they host Incarnate Word. But Jim, why should we trust Texas to cover a giant spread? They beat Pine Bluff by 32, but they put up 63 points
for the record.
Yeah, 63 points, 59 possessions. They play so slow. They've played one game all season, over 70 possessions. That's wild.
Yeah, your margin for error is so narrow here. Like if Incarnate Word hits a couple of threes like they did at Purdue, then you're in a lot of trouble. This game has been bet up, and maybe people are expecting to see a little bit of a dominant Texas effort, but they have not covered 4 in a row and 5 of their last 6. The Horns, they have struggled. There might be something going on there. Jalen Tyson was like this diehard Chris Beard recruit, followed him from Texas Tech to Austin, and he's already transferred. So I don't know that team has any sort of identity figured out. I would lean towards Texas, but man, is it just a begrudging, grumpy lean. Incarnate Word, maybe if Glasper's out, that's big. Their main shot creator. Let's keep an eye on that, but probably lean towards the under here because of the possession count that Kyle mentioned.
Matthew.
I'm a stubborn defender of Incarnate Word here. So obviously they've not been great so far. They shot the lights out and covered against Purdue.
Sure did.
Doing the same thing against Texas, I suppose, but without Glasper. I mean, they basically have 4 good players. I mean, not good players. They have 4 players who are
might
relevant.
Be D1.
And they haven't had like all 4 ever in the lineup. They've like one time this season. And so Glasper was the latest to miss. I'm just playing whack-a-mole with the lineups is not fun. Why I'm not backing them here. If they all play, I think they have a chance to cover.
Incarnate Word against Rice, 5 for 29 from 3.
Yeah, that was
Purdue.
fun,
Against Purdue, 12 for 27 from 3. Yeah,
sure.
They grabbed 5 offensive rebounds against Purdue, which was nothing, and Purdue grabbed over 51%. I think it's kind of like that sort of game for Texas, and you just hope they hit 5 threes instead of 12 threes if you're on Texas.
Yep.
All right, we got 2 questions in the chat mob, guys, which I think are the only 2 other games in the slate here. They're both added games. Lehigh, Maryland. Matt, as you've given away in the chat, you like one thing, one angle here in the Lehigh Maryland game. What do you say?
I don't know why. I just tend to think that under Danny Manning, they're going to prioritize Wahab more. Maryland, that is. Now I look back at his Wake Forest teams. They actually did play pretty fast in the later years. So maybe I didn't do my full due diligence before spouting this take here.
Great.
But it just seems like they're going to play a little slower, like less reliance on guard, more big guy. Let's pound it inside. And just the offenses for both teams are herky-jerky. Lehigh has some couple of injury or rotational dudes. I don't know how they're going to score either. Just feels like an ugly rock fight every game. Yeah. So
yeah, no point guard for Lehigh, and they're playing a freshman there that has like a 61% turnover.
It's a disaster,
rate.
Right?
How is that even possible?
Yeah.
And then Marcus Wilson has missed recently, and if he's not back, that takes away a scoring option. So yeah,
even if it does play fast, scoring will be inefficient on both ends.
All right, guys. Last game of the slate here: Southern Illinois and Grambling. Here's what I got, Jim. Absolutely nothing in this game.
I mean, Southern Illinois is like a nearly 20-point favorite as the slowest team in the country. That raises my alarm bells a little bit, but I think that there's no reason for any sort of effort from Grambling in this one. Southern Illinois probably frustrates them with like a 12-2 start, and we might see Grambling just quit. So looking ahead to SWAC play again, I think that is an angle that has some warrant or some merit as we get into these games before New Year's. And Matt, I think the start is going to be big for this one. If Grambling gets up, then maybe they hang around, but they will go to sleep early if Southern Illinois gets up.
Yeah. Concern for me on the Salukis, Kai, is their backcourt's been banged up all season. They haven't really been at full strength yet. There's no reason to force Ben Harvey or Lance Jones, guys who have dealt with injuries. Like they should not play in this game or play 20 minutes or less. That's my concern if you're back in the favorite.
Yeah. For those late to the chat, we have discussed every single game. Check the replay out after the show ends. Let's remind the people of our best bets, starting with Jim.
Best bet of the day: Northwestern State and Baylor over 143.5. Score 100 for me, Bears. That's what I'm. I think yours is similar, Kai.
It is. Mine's also 143.5. It's an over, but it's Gonzaga and North Alabama. Score 100 for me, Gonzaga. Matt.
Boise. The Broncos at Taco Bell Arena. It's 4.5 at BetRivers. I think it was 4 just for the show tipped. I'm going to post the hook and be honorable, as we always are in this show. I would take it up to 5. Honestly, maybe you wait. There could be a guy or two out for Boise because of COVID protocols. The line might drop. And people are auto betting these COVID injuries. So just go ahead and you can maybe wait and come back against the Marcus team there. I think Boise's deep enough, even if they're down a starter, even 2 against a Bakerless Fresno. I like
2 starters.
Maybe get down to a field.
Do you know Bakerless is out?
We don't know that. I'm assuming he is.
Okay.
I'm rooting for it. It is first conference game, so there's a time to bring him back. I guess tonight is the night. Take Boise now. You know what? Forget all that over analysis of timing. Just right now, hop in BetRivers 4.5. Lay the juice. Take it.
4. It's just 4.
It's 4.5 right now. I'm looking at it.
All right, it was 4 beginning of the show. We're going to give you 4.
It was.
Okay.
I'll take 4. I was going to go 4.5 though and be
Hey, you know what? You can take whatever spread you want. I don't care.
You know what? I'll put the hook on me. Put the hook on me.
I love the less value. All right. That does it for our show. Question about our schedule for the rest of the week. We'll definitely be on tomorrow. We'll figure it out and we'll tell you the rest of the schedule. We'll also tweet it out eventually here. Thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow.
Kai, remind them that the feed is moving over. Won't be on the regular Field of 68. Yes. I believe that's as of January 1st.
Yes. Hopefully you're already on Field of 68 Best Bets channel. That is where this show will be exclusively going forward. See you tomorrow, 12 p.m. Central.